You have to forgive me, I have literally not prepared for this at all. I actually wasn't going to even make YouTube videos until March when I moved to the UK. But I thought, you know what, when is the best time to start something that you know you want to do in the new year? It's the end of the old year. It is currently the 31st of December 2021. I was sitting at home pretty bored actually, there's not much to do at the moment, and I thought, you know what, let's just whip out the camera, let's get it started today, let's get it up on YouTube. This could really set the tone for the next year. I am feeling super reflective today, as I think we all do on December the 31st. I guess I want next year to be different. Don't we all want next year to be different? This year has been tumultuous for everyone, not just Australians, worldwide, you know, because of COVID, because of lockdowns and border control and terrible hair. Sorry, forgive me. Oh my goodness. Honestly, this is why I shouldn't come back to YouTube, because I'm just a hot mess 90% of the time. But honestly, here in South Australia at least, we are ending 2021 in probably the worst position we've ever been in. COVID cases are higher than they've ever been. So it's New Year's Eve, obviously. I think that house parties are limited to 10 guests in one house, so there goes everybody's plans of partying. Not that I'm someone that does go to parties on New Year's Eve, but I know that it's something that is like super looked forward to from everyone. I will be going to bed. So I have a rule, and I've been telling everyone this today, that if the year was a bit shit, you just go to bed. You just go to bed, you forget about it, you get up, it's a new year. It's really tough. I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I know that I do, but then I think sometimes I lean more towards the other way in that I don't put enough pressure on myself. So I want to go into the new year being like, no, you know what, let's just take each day as it comes. Let's not set out any intentions or goals or any of that. I don't want to feel the pressure. I tend to feel quite overwhelmed, quite suffocated when I put a lot of pressure on myself, but then you end up not achieving things that maybe you could have achieved if you did give yourself a little bit of that nudge. So I guess me documenting this is my way of being like, I do have some things that I want to achieve in this next year, and it's okay for me to say that, and also it's okay for me to say I'd like to achieve this, and then if I don't achieve it, that's okay. Because likely I will achieve some things that aren't even in my head, aren't even in my brain right now, and I will look back on this in a year's time and go, oh my goodness, because I know for certain that if I made a video like this time last year, I would be looking back at it today going, oh my goodness. So I guess this is just a verbal diary for me, because I have been trying to journal. I've even got my journal out for the past hour, and it's just not happening. I can't seem to be at one with words today. I'm super restless at the moment. We're actually going through a heat wave. It is currently 38 degrees outside, and this is usually my time of day where I go for my walk, I listen to my podcast, I get out all of that sort of spent up energy, but instead I'm in the house. And not only that, I'm in my bedroom right now, which has no air conditioning, and I turned the fan off for this video, so I'm suffering a little bit. I just thought that like, I'd have a chat. I don't really have a direction for this video, which is probably my first mistake, but that's okay. And it's funny, this journal actually, the first journal entry, hang on, I'm gonna have to turn my fan on or else I might die. This fan is like a lucky dip because it has like 6 different numbers, and you turn the power button on, every single time it'll start on a different number. So sometimes it'll start on 6 and you'll think there's some sort of tornado in your room. Other times it'll start on 1. I want it on 3 today. Sometimes it won't start at all. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's better. I'll live another day. Honestly, I cannot do hot weather. I turn into a princess, I get irritable. Fun fact, Emma Chamberlain, another YouTuber, if you've heard of her, she's from the US, she said that she did some research because she gets super irritable in hot weather. I'm the exact same. Apparently when we're hot, we do release some sort of hormone or something like that that can make us irritable. So it's science, you can't argue with science. Anyway, let's just get to the point here. I love this journal. If my house was on fire, one of the first things I would grab is this journal. The first entry was the 24th of September 2017. This journal is more well traveled. Good English, Amy. Good English. Than most people. 2017, I was still at university, and then around here I moved to the UK, and then I moved to London, and then I moved back to Australia, and then I moved to Brisbane, and then I moved back to Adelaide. This is all documented in this journal. I'm surprised it's not full. I have this much to go until it's full, and it's full of weird stuff. So I have an Emirates menu from one of my flights. Don't know which one that was. I have a medical certificate for when I tried to break a lease on my rental contract with a gym. I don't know why I keep this stuff. It was very, very traumatic. I laugh, but oh, I have the mediation call that I had. another story for another day. Honestly, I swear half the reason I want to come back to YouTube is just to tell my life stories, because I've got a lot of them and they just sit there collecting dust, and I'd like to share them with the world. I will go through my journal later on today, because what I like to do and what I've done every year is I like to just list out the things that I've done this past year, just cool things I've done. Actually, let's get an example here, why don't we? Oh, we'll get the best year of my life. 2018 was hands down the best year of my life. I started it, how did I bring in the new year? I was in the UK. I spent a good 6 hours avoiding unpacking, and it's now 6 o'clock at night. I've done 21,000 steps. I'm very tired. Send help. As you can see, it's a bit bright. There we go. Cool things I've done in 2018. Went in a flotation tank. I love flotation tanks. If you haven't been in one before, basically what it is it's like this pod. It's definitely not for everyone. If you get a bit claustrophobic, maybe choose another option of relaxation. I like small confined spaces. So you go into this pod. The water is very, very salty, I guess, it's magnesium salts. And so you naturally float, but they do, most of the places that I've been to, they give you like a head pillow. Basically, you just lay on the water and you can choose how long you go in for. I think that year I literally was in there for like an hour and 45 minutes. I've done one that's just 45 minutes. You can choose whether to have nice colors in your little pod or turn it off, have music, no music. You have earplugs in so the salt water doesn't get into your ears. I just love it. It feels like being in the womb. You just lay there and I started a meal prep business. Loved that. What was it called? AL Fit Kitchen. I reckon that was a good time. I went to a day spa. Yes, I went to Therma Spa in Bath in the UK anyway. I visited Sweden. That was a great time, and that is something I'm really hoping and I will do in 2021. I guess I made a promise to myself that every year from when I'm living in the UK, which will be as of March, I want to spend midsummer in Sweden. So even if it's just for one night, I am planning on doing that in June. I lived in a studio flat. That was an experience, let me tell you. I lived with housemates for the first time. They were such good housemates. It only went downhill from there. House sat in a mansion. True story. I tried my first spin class. Probably done one since, if that. Don't like them, not for me. I learned how to use de-icer. I still remember this. I had my little smart car, and it was my first proper winter alone in the UK, and I woke up one morning to drive to work and it must have been about 6 AM. There was just all of this frost on the front screen of my car. I'd never dealt with this before, and I thought, I can't get to work. What do I do? I tried the whole thing where you get the windscreen wipers and then you spurt out the water. Well, the water was frozen, obviously. It made the whole situation worse. And so I rang my mum, who was in Australia at the time. I said, Mum, I don't know what to do. I can't remember what I ended up doing, but the next day I went to Poundland and got myself some de-icer. Also, a lot of people say put boiling water on your front windscreen. Don't do that. I think it makes the grass clap. What? The glass crack. Just go to Poundland, or I don't know if we sell it in Australia, but I'm sure we do. Go to Cheaper Ships and get yourself some de-icer. I attended fitness and food events in London. I had so much fun doing that, and I'm hoping that in going back to the UK, hopefully I can get involved in some events like that again. I own and drove a smart car. I lived opposite the ocean, which was incredible. I'm not even really much of an ocean person. When it comes to Brighton and Hove, I am. I went back to PT and then I left PT. God, that sounds like the coming years. That also happened many a time. I worked with some great companies. Yes, I made internet friends, real life friends, and again, that's been sort of the trajectory for all of my moves since. I have so many people that I've spoken to online, mostly through Instagram, and then I've been able to meet them in real life and form really good friendships, and I'm so grateful for that. Again, I'm going to be very reliant on that when I move to the UK. I learned how to be a housewife slash parent. I actually spent most of 2018 as a childminder, so that's that one there. I did so much washing and cleaning and making dinners and doing hairstyles and bathing and going to swimming lessons. I saw a film. Okay, but I understand why I wrote that, because I'm not really a cinema person. As you can tell probably just from the past 10 minutes, I don't sit still. I can't sit still. So for me to actually sit in a cinema and watch a screen, that is a triumph. The funny thing is, I haven't been to the cinema since this. I know exactly when it was. I saw Bohemian Rhapsody in Brighton at the Odeon. I haven't been to the cinema since, so that has to change. I want to go to the cinemas in 2021. I want to go all out. I want to go gold class. I want reclining chairs. I've never done that before. I tried chocolate wine. I don't remember that at all. So I'm not a drinker, and you'll know this if you know me. Like, I don't drink. I've never had like a full standard drink. I only have like sips of things because I'm a curious individual. But apparently this year I tried chocolate. I do remember this. I do remember this. it was when I was in Brighton, my housemates and I, we all went to a chocolate festival. There was like a stall with some chocolate wine. I don't know why I felt the need to write that on here. I reckon maybe it must have happened just before I did this, because otherwise I wouldn't remember it. I made a list of things I want to try in 2019, but you know what? 2019 kind of went to shit, so I'm going to close that. I will be doing a similar thing today, and look, there won't be much to put on there because this year has been extremely uneventful. I think everything eventful happened in the first 3 months. In January, I was working as a support worker and I was working as a barista for a barber store in Brisbane. Spent 5 days on the Gold Coast with my mum, which was really nice. Actually, that was a really good time because we made it so that mum flew into Brisbane. We spent a day in Brisbane, I think, and that was beautiful. I did a 5k run around the Botanic Gardens. Like, I really just said goodbye to Brisbane in the best way I could have. We drove to the Gold Coast. We spent 5 days on the Gold Coast, staying at the Star, which is like a really nice hotel. And then we flew back to Adelaide together, and I guess I started my new life here. And then in March, I started university. I was doing my master's in secondary science education at UniSA here. And then in May, I dropped out of my master's. I don't want to badmouth UniSA, but I was so unhappy with the way that that course was run and just a lot of the mechanics behind it. I cannot be like justifying spending a lot of money on this degree if I'm not satisfied. And not only that, if I knew I was just going to be teaching biology, because that's my background, I would have been happy to keep going. But knowing that I would have had to be teaching a lot of physics and chemistry as well, not my vibe, people, not my vibe. I'd rather be teaching French or English or history or something like that, but I couldn't change my major. Anyway, you don't care. It was all a shit show. So I'm like, you know what, I'll withdraw, which actually turned out to be a really good idea because then not a good idea, but like it just worked out well. Then a few months later, mum and I decided that 2022 was going to be the year that we moved to the UK. I had been pushing it for a while and mum was like, oh, give it 2 years, give it 2 years. And then she said, oh, maybe like end of 2022. And I just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And then we booked our flights and we're off on March the 12th in 2022. And I will be hopefully filming the whole experience. That's the plan, more so from a selfish perspective because I want to be able to look back on it all and remember things. And then nothing else happened for the rest of the year, really. I was working for a while at the gym that I train at. That was only on weekends, and then I ended up leaving that. I was going to go into PT again. Then we went into lockdown. We went into a 2-week lockdown, and I guess it kind of made me reevaluate everything. So I was like aware of the fact that when you're doing something like personal training in our current climate, it can all stop within a matter of seconds and you don't have any control over that. So I think it was just the wake-up call that I needed, and I took my business fully online, which has been really good. It's been very, very chill. I guess career-wise, who knows what 2022 holds for me, and maybe that's the thing I'm most curious about, to see where I am professionally this time next year. Yeah, I honestly can't pick it. Will I stay with online coaching? Will I go back to PT? I truly hope not. Will I randomly end up in retail? I also truly hope not. I don't know what direction my career will take in this forthcoming year. I don't know how I've just rambled on for 15 minutes. Like, if you're still watching at this point, congratulations, to be totally honest with you. But the last thing I want to touch on is something that I do every single year, and I will be doing this year as well. I set a word for the year. I'm not big on setting lots of goals or lots of things I want to achieve, because if we've learned anything from the global pandemic, it's that things can change in an instant and you don't have any control over that. So I would rather not have things set in stone, just because I know the nature of my own life. Things change at the drop of a hat and I can't predict that. Instead, I like to focus on other things, like having a word of the year. I kind of make up this word, then I forget about it for a little bit. Maybe once a month I'll check in with it, see how it's going. From what I've found so far is that my years do tend to align with this word in ways that I never could have imagined. It's honestly really strange. So 2020 is when I remember starting this, and my word was impact. And I ended up making such a big impact that year. I didn't even know. At the time, I had no idea I was going to go back to PT. But I did end up going back to PT, and I did a pretty good job at it. And I think I did make a big impact on my clients' lives. I think I made a big impact. Whoa, did you see how the sun just went away just then? I don't know why, because of the cloud in the sky. Yeah, I made an impact online. I made an impact in real life. It was a good year. This is spooking me out a little bit. And then my word for this year was stability. I needed to be anchored down. This time last year, mentally, I was just in a really bad space and I felt like I was up in the clouds. I don't know how else to put it. I felt like I was just floating through life. I needed stability for this year. And at the time, I didn't know I would end up moving back to Adelaide, but I moved back to Adelaide, and here is somewhere that I do associate with being more stable. My mum is here. This is my grounding. She is my grounding person. Like, it's where I grew up. I guess I have had stability this year, which has been nice, but I'm so ready for a bit of pizzazz back in my life again, I think. I'm gonna wrap up this video here because my camera battery is flashing at me and I have rambled on for far too long, so I have to go and edit this. If you have watched this far, honestly, thank you. There will be more to come. I'm sure there will be a lot more adventurous things than me just sitting behind a camera chatting, but stay tuned for the ride, and I'm so curious to see where this year takes me. I'm so pleased to be entering a new year. Let's just put it that way, and I hope you all have a fantastic New Year's. Let's just bring in the good vibes for 2022. I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.